Richie, our first question is how was 2024 for art auction in the Philippines?
Well, I think, 2024 was a time for, how should we say this, a leveling of the art market. I think there were some corrections that were made price-wise, which I think is very good. I think that over the past few years, there have been some increases in the market that I believe needed to be more fully studied and more fully understood. And I think that the market has been able to get a clearer picture of where things are at. And I think the prices this year reflective of that. There were artists whose prices climbed even further. And there were some artists, of course, that either stayed within the level that they were selling at, or some sold a little below where they were selling before. But that is the sign, at least at Salcedo Auctions, of a true and thriving market.
Well, when you say art corrections, can you be more specific?
For example, there were works by certain sculptors, for example, that climbed in price over the past 2 years or so. And I think given that there has been, given those price increases, that there has been an increase of supply that has come into the market with sellers being enticed by the promise of excellent returns on their pieces, that given that there would be a correction in terms of the price for certain artists' works. So supply has a lot to do with corrections in the market, a deeper knowledge of the depth of collecting works by a particular artist, for example.
In short, you mean some prices were artificially bloated?
I wouldn't say that they were artificial. I think that as a normal response to the market, in the beginning, there were only a few that were being made available at the auctions. And therefore, the demand for these few pieces were there. And therefore, the prices went up. Now, when the market, of course, as in any normal market, at least here in Salcedo, seeing that more and more works by a particular artist are coming out and becoming available, some collectors would have thought that maybe I don't need to pay as much, or I wouldn't need to bid so much higher simply because, oh, maybe I can still have another opportunity elsewhere. And that is what is at the heart of the art market. Besides the desirability of the artist, it's also the amount of works by a particular artist being made available.
Well, what caused these corrections primarily? Do you think it's because a market maturing or being its awareness increasing?
Yes, I think that any correction that happens is because of that, as you mentioned, that growing awareness regarding the body of work of a certain artist, how many works are available or are increasingly becoming available. There's no greater motivation to sell than increasing prices. But then, of course, by the time you actually enter the market, perhaps it might be a tad late, because it's always good to be ahead of the market when it comes to selling works of art. Don't sell when there's already quite a number of works by the artists that are available. That's right, yes. So I think it's the awareness through our auctions, people seeing and appreciating and believing in the results at Salcedo, that they know where the market stands. And that's why we are considered to be the barometer of the art market, because when people see that some pieces are increasing in value, that means that there's an increasing demand in the works of particular artists, or a continued demand at a high level. Now, if certain pieces go unsold, and that is, of course, what is to be expected in a normal market, or at least one that adheres to standards, then one gets the understanding that there are deeper forces that are at play when it comes to the price for art. It's a growing maturity, I think, of the market. It's a growing maturity.
In terms of art masterpieces being put up for auction,
Yes.
do you note any shift or changes, whether it concerns market taste or demand?
I believe
Are
that
there changes?
I think that what is very reassuring is that the artists who we regard as blue chip, meaning that their value will not diminish because the arts and culture scene considers them to be of utmost importance. There are hardly any major corrections there. I was speaking at one of our cocktail functions the other day, and there's this lady collector that said that I'm very glad that I acquired works by all of these pieces by no names, because she knew that no matter what happened, come the time that she decides to unload certain pieces, there would always be a market for it. So the works of
pieces of non-names
of
or
big
known names?
of known names. That's right. So, for example, the works of national artists. For example, like during the last auction, the record sale, for example, for the Rosary Queen by a formidable name, Ang Kyukok, who has consistently sold well at Salcedo Auctions. There was a time when his prices plateaued and went up, and now they're scaling up again because people are really seeing the value and the rarity of those pieces that are vetted and come to Salcedo Auctions. The other, of course, the other artist who did very well during the last auction was, the artist that we have behind you, Laulian Ben, for example.
Always, he is a consistent.
Yes.
The demand is.
The demand is consistent. Well, the supply is also consistent as well, in that the rarity of the works remains as well. The desirability remains, the reputation remains, and over time, with that increasing assessment of the artist's importance within the Philippine art scene, that continues to be reinforced, and that supports price.